to you. Hi guys, this is Dr. T. We are at Univercity and I'm with a very special person, Danny Ross, and we are going to take you on a virtual field trip of Univercity neighborhood. So there's Danny. Hi Danny.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to just ask Danny and to introduce himself. Danny, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, thanks Tamara. I'm Danny. I graduated from REM in October of 2018. I was in the REM planning program. My thesis focused on sustainable urban development, and that's a big umbrella term. But I always showed an interest in sort of urban design, sustainability, urban planning. And so I heard about a job opening up at the SFU Community Trust, and I went for it, and now I'm the development manager, and I basically take care of everything planning and development with the trust and with Univercity. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and Danny is awesome, by the way, and it just goes to show that with this REM degree and the planning degree, you can do a lot of really cool things. So today, Danny's going to take us on a tour, and he's going to explain to us why planning and why the sustainable communities that you might be living in is not just simple, and you shouldn't just take it for granted. So we're going to go like nitty gritty and delve in a lot more, okay? So let's go.
Walk over here. So this is what we call Town Square. Ooh. It was basically created as an anchor between Univercity and Simon Fraser University. Sort of like a welcoming gathering place where students, faculty, staff, and residents will come mingle, hang out. Typically on a sunny summer day, it's filled with people, but obviously we're filming this during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's completely void of people, although I am happy to see that they're maintaining it a little bit. But really, when you think about planning and you think about social spaces, it's all about social cohesion and social integration. So that was really the major thought behind Town Square, or where town meets gown.
Oh, so Danny, I have this question. So students have this assignment on placemaking. So
yeah.
Would you say that this is an area, for placemaking?
Absolutely. To me, this is placemaking 101. You've got an accessible area, right? So there's a ramp coming from Science Road down there, that if you do have accessibility issues, or if you are in a chair, you can come hang out. The ramp also continues that way, so we've got accessibility covered. Social interaction. Typically, again, in a non-pandemic world, every Wednesday in the summer, the trust or me, I wheel out some games, giant Jenga, chess, a ping pong table. We hire a busker to come play music for an hour and a half, and we work with SFU Dining to bring in a food truck. So you could have Dog or the taco truck or what have you, and all of that really activates this public space, so you've got social interaction happening. So absolutely, placemaking, you need a place where people can come and mingle, and that's what we've done here.
Yeah, that's actually what I love the most about this area. When I first came to SFU, there's like a street festival, and it was super awesome. Like my kids were just running around. We eat a lot in this area. So yeah, and as you can hear, there's a lot of noise because this is what a neighborhood is all about. It's busy, it's bustling, and even despite the pandemic, it's thriving.
Okay, so if you want to maybe show over here, this is the SFU Bus Loop. So part of the planning right now is that in the future, when one of our last commercial mixed-use parcels comes into play, the bus loop will actually be moved onto one of our last sites. And this area that you see in front of you, that's super busy, tons of buses, will actually be a plaza. It's an SFU space, so the idea of the plaza is a larger gathering space than the town square, maybe for convocation or for sort of the convocation gathering point. But in any case, it'll be a place for people. It'll be a public space. So again, bringing back that theme of placemaking. I should mention it now, I guess, but when you're a planner or you work in development, or even if you work in policy planning, sometimes it's really cool to see your work come into fruition. I mean, obviously it's really cool to see your work come into fruition. And so we also get to use our imaginations a lot. So what the trust is working on with SFU, the City of Burnaby, and TransLink right now is to imagine that one day a gondola is going to land basically right here, actually, where the Return It station is, where that tree stand is. If you can imagine a gondola landing there, very similar to what the Peak to Peak in Whistler looks like. It's the same company that would design and build it. And that gondola is supposed to take 2 bus routes off the street, so that already reduces noise, it reduces pollution, right? Getting 2 bus lines off the mountain basically reduces greenhouse gas emissions. And that's a part of SFU and the Trust goal of reducing emissions on the mountain.
Oh my goodness, and that's gonna be so much fun, unless you're scared of heights. But anyway, it's gonna be so much fun. You don't have to go to Playland, or maybe you can. But anyway, so what's our next stop?
So we'll walk across the street here, and I'll talk a little bit about the first building that was ever built at Univercity.
Danny said that this is one of the first building built in Univercity, so I did not know that. I've been here for 1.5 years, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, so this is the Cornerstone building. It's a purpose-built rental building, meaning it's all rental. We've got 140 rental units, and they're not just for students. They're for faculty, staff, or anybody that wants to live up here. And people want to live up here for a variety of reasons. One, so we do a biannual survey, and so one thing we constantly hear is proximity to Vancouver, the downtown core, access to public transit, access to nature, living in a sustainable community, and living near the emerging Tri-Cities areas. So those are some reasons why people choose to live up here. But Cornerstone is an example of a commercial mixed-use building, right? So we've got retail, shops, and services at grade or at ground level, and we've got rental apartments up on top. It's a medium density, so it's a good way to get more people near more shops and services, and of course access right to transit, right to the university. Right. Commercial mixed use, meaning it's a mix of either retail, shops, services. You know, you've got your print shop, you've got a coffee shop, you have lots of they're faster food restaurants, but that's primarily to serve the students, and you have residential on top, hence mixed use.
Yeah, and I think what I love the most about mixed use, guys, is that it's a place where you can kind of walk everywhere and get everything you need, and you don't have to get in your car to get the food, and get in your car to get to the post office, and get in your car to do everything. So it's a really cool
Exactly.
yeah, really cool idea.
Yeah, and when I hear and see mixed use, it makes me think of sort of New York City or maybe Europe or something, where you've got pretty much everything you need within a 2-block radius. So we're here on the commercial high street. So this street is called University High Street, and you obviously cannot have a thriving, vibrant community without a commercial high street, right? So that's why Cornerstone was the first mixed-use building built. It was 15 years ago, and it was concurrent with our first residential building in the East Highlands neighborhood called One University.
So we are at the Hub. Tell me more.
Yeah, so the Hub, this was built about 6 years ago, and it was actually a really key building for the development of Univercity and sort of fostering that sense of community, because it's, of course, residential and commercial mixed use again. So you can't have a community without a market. So Nestor's Market was our first and only grocery store, and they've got 17,000 square feet at grade. So they have the entire block. So Nestor's is really important to Univercity because it offers obviously groceries, pharmacy, and deli and catering services to both the community and the university. So they're also a really great community partner. They partner with the Trust for a ton of events, and they've kind of emerged as like a leader in community building. So we're really happy about that. And again, the form of development on top is just 1 and 2 bedroom apartment buildings. And on the other side, actually, you have townhouse style developments where residents can enter from ground level. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But yeah.
Yeah, no, this is really cool because one of the things that came up a lot during conversation with people who's been at SFU, but they came to SFU a while ago. It's like, how could you be living up there? You know, there's nowhere to go. There's no grocery store. I'm like, no, you have no clue. You know, so this is like what, 15 years basically.
Exactly. So it's 2020. We're in our 16th year of development.
Amazing 16th year of development.
So here we are, right across the street from the hub at Center Block. So another commercial mixed-use building along the commercial high street. Center Block's interesting because it's got on the second floor our first health center. So this was really important to have in the community. I kind of saw it as the last missing link in Univercity. Polycan Health Clinic is now open, although they're doing virtual walk-ins, virtual consultations. They are seeing patients for physiotherapy, chiropractor. In the fall, the MRI clinic and surgery day clinic are going to open as well.
Oh, that is so awesome. And as someone that lives in a neighborhood, I can't tell you how amazing it is to have a health clinic nearby.
It really is sort of the last final piece of the puzzle when it comes to a full stop community with marketplace. You've got a bank, you've got a liquor store, you've got a health clinic now. And so for a lot of residents, instead of driving 20 minutes or an hour to get to the hospital or get to their doctor or a walk-in clinic, they can just go here now. So this is really great. And of course, it's anchored again by other shops and services. We have an optical shop, sushi joint, pizza place, and a Tim's because it's Canada. So here we are in what we call in planning or development, the public realm. So it's basically a pedestrian area, sidewalk, curbs, boulevards, gutters, and parking bays. So Tamara, I don't know if you noticed anything different about this public realm than compared to maybe a street in Vancouver or somewhere else in Burnaby?
I'm not sure, Danny. Can you tell me a little bit more about how this area is different?
So it's right under your feet actually. Instead of just straight up concrete sidewalks, we've got permeable sidewalks. Permeability is a big thing for the Univercity community and for the SFU Community Trust because we have an award-winning stormwater management system. Basically, every site in Univercity, so every building, the developer, when they build it, they're required to retain all stormwater that hits their site. They have to retain it all on site. And they do that by designing it with a cistern or a containment tank. After the water flows through that cistern, it comes into the public realm. And through permeable pavers, also permeable parking bays as well. Like you can see, we have permeable paving stones in a parking area. All the stormwater that we get up here, and we get a ton, goes into our infiltration galleries that lead into the third tier of our stormwater management system, and those are a series of detention ponds. They're further down the slopes, so obviously using gravity, water travels from the building site, which is the cistern, then it moves into the public realm and it seeps into the infiltration galleries, which are really consisting of just rocky debris, sediment, that further filter the water. Then they move into what I said earlier, our third tier, our detention ponds. By the time the water leaves the detention ponds and moves into the natural creeks in Stony Creek, which is the watershed below Burnaby Mountain, it's as if there was no development at all whatsoever. And in fact, when Simon Fraser University was built in 1965, there was a big salmon die-off in the Stony Creek watershed because of contaminant, because of runoff, because of pollutants from construction up here. Since this system was designed and implemented about 15 years ago, there's been a major rebirth of salmon in the Stony Creek watershed. So that's a big win for our system up here.
Oh, that is so awesome. And students have new concepts here, like permeable sidewalks, public realm. The one thing that we talk about a lot also in planning and building kind of more inclusive and just comfortable communities is street furniture. So tell me a little bit more about why street furnitures are important. Is this something that's just easy? Do you just install it and then just flop it in? Is it, is there a process?
So Univercity, we've built it with best practices and have this unique opportunity to create our own green building guidelines. So guidelines aren't rigid, unfortunately. They're not requirements, but they are encouraged. So when we work with a developer, we encourage the developer to adhere to our green building guidelines, and in turn, we would grant a developer with perhaps a density bonusing. That just basically means they might be able to add more units or maybe another floor if it fits within our height restrictions. So you asked me about the street furniture. Well, it's really as simple as just thinking, how are people going to feel when they're here? You know, if I'm building center block, if I'm the developer, I'm not going to want people to just come to these commercial buildings and leave. We want to have people feel at home. So that's why we have benches. We have sort of benches with the backs. We have benches in the planting beds.
Yeah, I love that.
Lots of places for people to sit. Yeah. And again, going back to what I said earlier about social interaction, this is another example of placemaking, because you've now got a place for people to hang out. And again, during a normal, non-pandemic month here, this would be very busy. People are going to grab their morning coffee, they're going to hang out. I see professors coming here and grading sometimes. People are going to grab their food and eat out here too. So it creates a sense of place and it activates the public realm. And one thing that I noticed too, just standing here, all of these commercial units have floor-to-ceiling glass windows, and that's something that Jane Jacobs, like a legendary urban planner, somebody that I admire greatly, would have called eyes on the street. Eyes on the street are an example of crime prevention through environmental design. So you'll see in the blue building, we've just recently completed an expansion project that added 8 additional classrooms and 3 daycare facilities to the elementary school.
That's awesome. Yeah, and by the way, my kids come here and they also have like gardening, community gardening clubs and green clubs and lots of awesome things and a lot of community events. We, pre-COVID, we used to do movies here at the school. So yeah, lots of fun.
All right. So here we are at the Univercity Childcare Center. So what's really cool about this building is it was designed to pursue Living Building Challenge design standards. The Living Building Challenge is basically like LEED, only it takes it one step further in that every facility that pursues Living Building Challenge has to be net zero energy or produce more energy than it uses. So you'll see we've got, well, you can't see maybe, but we've got solar thermal panels on the roof that feed into the building's water system and heats the building basically.
I gotta be taller to see
it.
Yeah.
Living Building Challenge facilities also have to be built using all local materials, nothing from further than 500 kilometers away.
Wow.
You'll note pine columns on the undercover area here that also extend into the building itself. This pine was actually salvaged from a mountain pine beetle kill forest in Kelowna. So wood that would have just been destined to be mulched was repurposed and used to build this childcare center.
That's amazing. And what is the importance? What would you say is important about, you know, having a childcare built within a community?
I mean, one thing is that it attracts young families to live up here. Another thing is it sort of brings life, you know, brings life into a community.
Kids are lively.
Kids are lively. I wish we could go inside because it's really innovative and really interesting.
Awesome.
So Univercity was designed using a gridded public access system. So we wanted to design the community with as many sort of walking trails or public passageways as possible so that residents and pedestrians could walk away from vehicles basically. So in a lot of the complexes, you'll see something like this where it's just a pedestrian walkway that basically connects the building, the strata, to public transit, to the university, or to the commercial high street. And these walkways themselves, when they fall on a strata lot, they're also maintained by the strata lot. So it's another innovative approach to designing a place in partnership with multiple stakeholders.
That's amazing. So Danny, how does planning and urban design tie together with all this?
Well, so, you can't plan a good community without good urban design. So good urban design takes into consideration how are pedestrians, how are residents going to move through the space? Are they going to feel safe? Are we going to have eyes on the street? Are we designing the environment for vehicles, or are we designing it for pedestrians? So urban design plays a huge role in planning for sustainable communities, especially when you bring in principles of green building design, pedestrian friendly. In fact, Univercity was designed in so we've got sort of a outer road and an inner ring road. And we wanted a compact community so that if you're living on the outer ring road, it's going to take you no more than 10 minutes to walk to the center of the community or to the high street, 5 minutes if you're on that inner ring road. So it's a really walkable, friendly community through environmental design.
That's awesome, walkable communities. Okay, let's go to our next stop.
Okay.
So we are here now in what's called the East Highland neighborhood. So tell me more about this.
So the East Highlands neighborhood was the first neighborhood built in Univercity. So you actually feel that way when you're here, right? It's a mature neighborhood. All the vegetation is kind of full and looks like it's maturing really well. And one of the major goals in the beginning of the East Highlands neighborhood was to push the density to the outer ring road. So you can see that all the heights and the higher density buildings are actually on the outer ring road. And that again takes advantage of a smaller building footprint with larger buildings with sweeping views of the Fraser Valley, Indian Arm, the mountains. Some of them can see downtown Vancouver. So again, you've got a really nice mix of housing types. You've got anywhere from 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom ground oriented townhouse style access off the street to 1 and 2 bed apartment style buildings and units.
Wow, this is really lively and bustling. What's happening here, Danny?
So we're here now in the West Highlands neighborhood. So it's envisioned as being a higher density neighborhood in Univercity. And what we're noticing here is that it's a wide range of people that choose to live here. Singles, young students, couples, young families, and older families too. And so when Univercity is finally built out, we're going to see between 8 and 10,000 people living up here. And the way we can get that done is having high density here in the West Highlands. So right here we have the most recent building to be completed. This is called the Peak. It's 186 units, ranging from everything between 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom plus and penthouse style units. Sweeping views from around the Lower Mainland. So another objective of the West Highlands neighborhood is to maximize views on smaller development footprint sites. And so that's where you're going to see sort of taller buildings ranging from 15 to 20 stories at max. So the building to my left, Crescent Court, when it's completed, it's going to see a 20-story tower next to the water tower, a 15-story tower over here, and again, 1 and 2 bedroom ground-oriented townhouse-style units with a front entrance off the street. SFU Parcel 21 is going to be Univercity's second affordable housing project aimed at offering a place to live to graduate students, and especially graduate students with young families. Now, I don't know why this wasn't built when I was a grad student, but that's okay. I also don't have kids, so I probably wouldn't be able to live there anyway. But as you can see, this is one of our sites that's right now, it's under construction. So the west building is almost completed its framing. East building is just coming online now with framing, and this site has actually come up very quickly. I'm actually really excited to see all the progress it's made. This is going to be managed by Simon Fraser University. So most other developments in the community were leased out to a private developer, whereas the trust is actually building this on behalf of SFU, because once it's completed, SFU is going to manage this building that's, again, geared towards graduate students with young families.
That's amazing. And just for reference, this parcel is right here, and just 3 minutes walk away is Nestor. So super close to everything.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why this sort of SFU run residence is in Univercity is because of what Tamara just said, that obviously young families, they need to be closer to shops and services, and that's exactly where they are.
Perfect.
Verdant building. So Verdant was the first affordable housing project built in Univercity. The way it works is basically through a waitlist process. Interested purchasers will let us know that they're interested, and it's entirely owner occupied, 60 units, 10 of which are rental, 50 are under a resale control agreement. The purpose of the resale control agreement is to offer affordable, below market housing that's supposed to attract faculty and staff from SFU to not only work up here, but to also live up here. So if Tamara has a unit in Verdant and she says, hey, the family's getting bigger, we need to move out, she comes to me and we have the unit appraised to determine the fair market value. And once that's determined, we take 20% off, and that's the sale price. So Tamara is going to retain the equity that she accrued from the time that she purchased her unit to the time that she's going to sell. So she gets to retain equity at the same time ensuring affordability for owners moving forward.
It's amazing. 20% is huge. And so, yeah.
For example, we have one for sale right now. The appraised value is $600,000. So the sale price is going to be $480,000, $120,000 off that price to make it a 20% below market.
Exactly. That's great. And yeah, and that's why this is so popular with faculty and staff members.
300 names on the wait list right now.
300, my name included.
Okay, so here we are at the Serenity complex. So the Serenity is a really good example of multifamily housing. You've got a range of 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, a lot of ground-oriented units with a shared pedestrian network of walkways, like I mentioned earlier, that bring pedestrians safely from points of the community without vehicles around. I'm told, I've not been here on Halloween, but I've been told that on Halloween there's literally hundreds of kids running around through here. It really creates a sense of place in this complex, and that's why it attracts so many young families. Connected trail system, again, it brings walkers or cyclists from the outer ring road all the way to the middle of the community, and it's part of that compactability and walkability that was so important when planning Univercity.
That's awesome, and it feels just like we're in a fairy tale forest. I love it.
You kind of are.
Yay!
A lot of the trees in Univercity are protected by riparian covenants, so just a fancy word for legal agreements that give these trees protection. So obviously it was all trees at one point, and a lot of parking lot for SFU, but in designing and planning Univercity, we've been able to retain a large amount of the older trees.
So lush.
So this is an example of a mature rain garden, and it's part of our stormwater management system and really mimics nature in a way. So you've got the rocky infiltration gallery next door to a permeable parking bay. And like I said earlier, the water comes off the site from the building into this permeable system down below grade, and then gets carried to our detention ponds where it's further filtered before entering the Stony Creek watershed.
And it's so crazy that, you know, this is such a simple thing to do, having a rain garden, but it's not something that you see in all of the developments.
No, it's been part of our innovative approach to stormwater management, and the infrastructure itself is relatively easy to maintain. But when people see it in the beginning, they think, uh-oh, it's going to cost us more money. Why can't we just mow some grass? It's actually easier to just pull some weeds every now and then than have somebody cut your grass all the time. City is that the trust requires every developer who builds here to contribute $1 per square foot of their building footprint or their lot footprint to public art. So this is an example of some of that public art. It's a bench.
Oh my goodness, and look at all of the cool lettering. I don't know if that may be Braille. This is an interesting hieroglyph. Basketball and Christmas trees.
And so the public art really just continues to activate the public realm. It contributes to the aesthetic, and in my opinion, creates more of a sense of community.
One thing that you mentioned, Danny, is about kind of the landscaping and the importance of using local plants.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if you just take a look at the boulevard here, so this is just a regular boulevard that you might see in any neighborhood in Burnaby or Vancouver, but it's all native plantings. So instead of just all grass, we've got native plantings, and that contributes again to our green building requirements and our sustainability mandate. And this is a very innovative street. It's sort of modeled after a European concept where basically the pedestrian realm and the vehicle space, they kind of blend into one. So what that does is it acts as a natural traffic calming feature. Basically, a driver has to be aware. And I think that contributes to a safer community. I also think it makes it better for the pedestrian experience. But you'll note, it's not a wide sidewalk on this street. In fact, Slopes Mews is the narrowest street in the Lower Mainland.
Wow, the narrowest street in the Lower Mainland. That's pretty cool.